Alright, what's going on YouTube? Coming at you with another video here. This time, it's more like I guess like an unboxing slash review for the Hori Split Pad Pro. Uh, I got a red version, but I know there's like multiple colors of it. There's blue and black, I think. Well, I just got the red one, so I like red. Well, reason for buying this was, um, I don't know. I want to say I have average size hands. So when I grab a Joy-Con, Joy-Cons are, I don't know what, they do feel like for child hands. I'd say, they're just too small. I mean, I feels like I'm gonna break it as I'm playing a game. Just everything in general about a Joy-Con just bugs me. The buttons, how they're not pressure points, they're kind of like clicky. When you want to press down on like R3, L3, same thing. I don't know. I think I'm just used to like years of like playing with regular controllers. The pressure. If I apply the same pressure to like a PS4 controller to a Joy-Con, I feel like I'm gonna break this thing. I'm like, in one sitting. If I really wanted to press it as hard as I press other controllers, I'll break this thing. So I limit myself when I play with Joy-Cons. So I had to look out for something other than default Nintendo Joy-Cons, and these are a fair price. I think this is worth like I got it for like $30. And I think if you buy individual Joy-Cons, I think an individual Joy-Con is $25, so you need like $50 for the set. And this is 30, and it's for has both left and right Joy-Con. So I thought it was good. I'll give it a shot. It's from Hori, and I already had a Hori pad, I'd say, for Switch. So I figured, well, that Hori pad isn't bad at all. So let me try this. Let me try this Joy-Con one, the Split Pad Pro, and see how well it holds out. And I like it. I guess I'll start off with like the negative side of this Joy-Con thing, as I've like dwelled into it and I've used it. I think I've been using it for like 2 weeks. So to start off, I guess I'll start with the cons of it. The cons is, yeah, it makes the Switch look big. It makes it look goofy, more dorky than ever, because they're just a little too big, It makes your Switch look like a monster when you're finally like attached to it. But I'll just say that's the bad side of it. It makes it and turns it into like a real, like it's like super, like it's crazy going back to like a regular Joy-Con Switch after you played with this one. That's just, I guess, a small con. It does make it like, I think twice. If you put two switches together, just the actual Switch itself, that's what you get when you combine the Switch with these pads. So that's a con. I'll put out the con. Another con will be no wireless. So these are like wire. I don't know if they're considered wired, but you could say I'll put them as like wired. Like they only work if they're like attached to the Switch, I guess. They won't work if you could detach a Joy-Con, put the kickstand on the Switch, and use the Joy-Con wirelessly. These don't work that way. These have to be attached to the Switch. If you remove them, they like they die off. I think they use the Switch's battery to stay on. Unlike the Joy-Cons that have their individual battery inside. So that's how you could detach them. These are just they use the Switch's energy. So if you detach them, like let's say you can't bust them out and hand it to a buddy and try to play Smash. It just won't work that way. They only work. They have to be attached to it. So that's a con. Can't use them individually. It's just like a one piece. Another one is a no rumble. Regular Joy-Cons have like a rumble pack. Like if you're playing, they have I guess you could say rumble. They got like that motion, that rumble motion. When you hit something, like they'll vibrate or whatever. Which is, it's cool, but I mean when I'm playing handheld mode, never have I experienced a handheld console, I guess, that had that had that rumble feature. You can look back to like Game Boy days, DS, PSP, Vita, 3DS. None of them really had a rumble, except for this Switch with the original Joy-Cons. But it's not a feature I miss. I'm used to not having a rumble. So when I play Joy-Cons and they rumble, I was like, oh, why is this rumble? Like, why does it feel so different? I was like, oh, these things have rumble. But if I take them off, I usually take them off anyway on the settings, just because it's not a feature I'm not used to the feature regardless. Previous generations I didn't use it, and I guess I don't use it now. But I mean, if you're into rumble, just know that these don't have rumble; they're just standalone. So I guess I put that on the con. All right, enough talking about the cons. Why I think it's good? Well, first off, I mentioned how it was a bit too big. Well, that's kind of like also its like biggest asset. It's definitely bigger. My hand actually fits. I could hold it, and I don't feel like half of my hand has to be hanging. Especially because Switch Joy-Cons, the analogs one is a little bit higher than the other. So your thumb guides your hand. So if your thumb is a little bit lower than the other one, your hand should technically be sliding down with it. And so when you have regular Joy-Cons, it kind of feels like, I feel like half my hand is doing nothing. Like half my hand can't get a grip on things. And this has like a tooth. It has like those sharp corners, like that form like fangs. So my hand can nicely wrap around that little teeth thing on my bottom, on my pinky and my ring finger. And I got my middle finger and my index up top, and I got my thumbs ready to press buttons. So it's definitely more comfortable for me. I could hold it, and if I could hold it better, I could execute better. So that's a pro for me. It's big, but it's big and it makes it look goofy, but if it works, it's all that matters for me. The execution of it. If it's working, then it's a pro. Now, second, the buttons. The buttons on this thing are actually pretty nice. I prefer these buttons over regular Switch Joy-Cons, Nintendo. Again, going back to that feature where Switch Joy-Cons, when you press a button on the Switch Joy-Cons, they make like a little click. Like you gotta put pressure into it, and you finally hear the click, and that's how it registers the button input. These you press down on the button, if that makes sense. Like you press it down all the way down, and then it'll hit. Like there's less resistance to the buttons to go down. Whereas as a switch, you kind of just like you press, and then you finally put enough pressure into it, so you hear the click. These you put minimal pressure, and you'll feel the buttons slide down, and then you can keep going, and then you'll reach the end of, So they got like more breathing room, I guess. Which I prefer, because it means I know how much force I'm using to press a button. Whereas a Switch Joy-Con, it tells me how much pressure I need to register a button, and these I know how much pressure I'm putting into each individual press. And the buttons are nicely built. They're not like Switch buttons, like Switch Joy-Cons, I'd say, where I feel like going back to how much pressure I use on buttons, I feels like I could press these buttons like 1,000 times, and after that 1,001th time, they're still gonna feel the same. I can't say that about a Switch Joy-Con. I feel like if you press those buttons 1,000 times, that 1,001 time might be the one that will break it, just because they feel so delicate. So that's another pro for me. The buttons feel solid. A little bit of extra features. They have a turbo function. You could set a button to have a turbo input, which is nice. I mean, if you're into like a shooter or like these old school games that you don't have to like keep pressing the buttons to like shoot or whatever, you could just assign a turbo. They also have an extra button on the back. You could assign it to any button. So you could put, if you want an A, you could assign it to the A button, and it's like it's a back button. You press it with like it's in the back of the controller. So it's pretty neat. Sometimes I'll use it just so that my middle finger does something. Sometimes my index finger will press both the ZL and the L and stuff like that. So sometimes I'll let my index fingers sit on the ZLs, on the Z's, ZL, ZR, and I'll let my middle finger be on the rear on these extra buttons, and they'll be like, and I'll assign them to like L and R. So my fingers don't move at all. They're just pressing stuff. And the added size to the Joy-Con is a nice feature. It adds to the hold. And you actually get a real analog real analog sticks on this one. Way better than regular Switch Joy-Cons. Like I said, going back to like how flimsy they feel. Yeah, it feels like I'll break those Nintendo Joy-Cons like if I'm too rough with it. Plus, actually pressing down on them like the L3, R3, it feels terrible. Like too much pressure, and it feels like if you go a little even further, like I might just snap them. These actually feel like they'll take a beating, and they feel nicer. They feel like the real analog sticks that I'm used to. And I guess, and they also have a D-pad, a real D-pad, and not like those button D-pads that the regular Joy-Con has. And they fit in the dock. You could leave this thing open. You can leave these things connected and dock the Switch, and without having to remove them. I know there's some attachments out there that go like around the Switch, and they add the little teeth to it so you could grip it better. But I don't think you could dock. I don't think you could have that equipped while docking. These you could dock it, undock it while they're still being on. So that's a plus too, I guess. Just I'll be playing handheld, and then I'll dock it without having to remove them, and then go into like the dock gameplay, and without skipping a beat. So that's, I think these are pretty good. Hori made a solid product here, especially for the price. If you're into looking for something for the Switch, if you can't stand the smaller ones, I recommend these. They're pretty solid. And what do I rate them? I rate them like a 4-star. Not a 5 because I feel like a 5, maybe like a 5, you need like I guess the rumble feature. And if they were wireless, the size they could stay the same, but if it had like those two features into it, then it'll be like, why go back to original Joy-Cons? So yeah, I'd give it 4 out of 5. Star rating, I guess. So that's like kind of like the end of my video or review, unboxing, what you want to call it. So that'll be it. Thanks for sticking around and peace.